Welcome to my video where I explain my MyPL extension project. I was tasked with keyword arguments and default values and implementing those into MyPL. So I'm just going to do a little demo about what keyword arguments and what default values are, and I'm just going to use Python because that's kind of the quickest language to write these in. So let's say I have like a def function that takes an x, y, and z, and all that it does is it prints like x is followed by x, and then y is that, z is that, z. So now I can do something like function 1, 2, 3, oops, and then when I run Python, it's able to detect that, pretty simple. But if I were to do something like y equals 3, z equals this, and then I rerun this, Python is smart enough to go around that and assign those values because it has these keyword arguments. In the same vein, there's default values, which I also had. So if I do something like y equals 10, z equals 200, and then I were to do function, I'll do like 15, rerun this, you'll see that x is 15, y is 10, z is 200. But if I were to do something like this where I get rid of the default value for y, there'll be a error. So default values and keyword arguments are used very frequently in real life scenarios. An example for this is my Computer Science 325 project. I made a function that's getModel, and it has all these default values. And because of this, I'm just going to go here. Because it has all these default values, you only have to put in certain things. And also because it has keyword arguments, if I look at uses for this, you're able to see that I only have to specify certain things, and it's not in the exact order. It's very easy just to be able to use this. So this is kind of where it would be used in a real world setting. So the unit test that I developed, this first one, test1.mypl, is basically a copy of a previous test that we used. I believe it was just function tests, and I added default values to it. So when I run it, and I also use keyword arguments through this test as well. So if we run this, okay, so now that that's done, we can do mypl, and then examples, and then test1.mypl. And when I run this, you're able to see that everything is correct. I'm using these default values right here. I'm using keyword arguments right here, and everything is turning out to work as planned. The next one that I did is more on the keyword arguments. Well, they both test both of them, but this one has more keyword arguments than the previous one does. Basically what it does is it takes in these three numbers and it returns the sum of the first two. So the first one is doing is utilizing default values, or default values. The second one is using the same thing with keyword arguments, and this one is also doing more keyword arguments. So if I were to run this test2.mypl, you'll see that it is in fact 10, 30, 40. I can do another one right here that just switches these orders. Just thought of that. I could do like something like v2, v1, and then that should also still come up as 40. Yep. So that's perfect. As for the other tests that I developed, I made 10 tests per each thing. So I did 10 default value tests, 10 keyword argument tests. For the default value tests, I also want to test the parsing and the code generating, as well as So if we go down here, the first few tests are just testing the VM. But now I get to the point where I'm testing the simple parser and the lexer. Then I'm doing like the semantic checker as well. I'm checking for some failures. And then when we go into keyword argument tests, these are also similar in vein to that, checking the VM, checking for errors in the parser. Yes. And then so if I open up the terminal up here, and I've already made it, so I can just run default value tests. You'll see that it passes all 10 tests. I can do keyword argument tests, it passes those. But another thing that I kept in mind was the old previous tests. So I made sure to copy those over. I modified the CMake file so then it will add these executables. So if I build it, I think it's already built. Yep. I go over to my code runner or my test runner. So this has all the different tests. I'm able to run them all here, and you'll see that it passes all of my tests. And this includes the default value test and the keyword argument test, which totals up to be 517 tests. So this means that it's still passing, the basic code generator tests as well as the basic AST parser tests. I made sure to keep in mind that whenever I would add a new function to my PL, I made sure to go back and check that it did not break any of the previous implementations or previous tests.